Hey everybody, welcome back to the 158th episode of Taps of Patience. This is Rev D of our intro. I am AJ with Subtract Manufacturing and Audacity Micro, here with Harrison at Precision Ingenuity. Hi Harrison.
I have a migraine from these intros.
We've only done it 4 times.
Should we go through the list, or do we want to just keep going to the episode?
I mean, on the bright side, we've already talked about all the Japan stuff, and people are just going to want us to talk about machining.
Yeah. So
how was your trip to Matsuura?
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I was a little bit disappointed because they asked me if I wanted to go to the company headquarters or to the plant. And I was like, I don't really care about the headquarters. I'm fine with just going to the plant. And I found out after my tour, or like when my tour got going, that all of the machining part of Matsuura is done at one location, and assembly is done at the plant. And I was like, well,
that's annoying.
If I had known that, I would have wanted to do both.
Yeah.
So I was a little frustrated with that, but it was a lot of fun though. So
did they send you home with a goodie bag?
They did. And
does it weigh 12,000 pounds?
No. I wish.
Dang it.
I wish, but no. My goodie bag was some chopsticks. So,
were they machine chopsticks?
No, but they are really nice ones. They are like Matsuura branded ones, I believe. So that's kind of cool. And apparently, I'll have to like fact check them on this, but I think chopsticks have a dual meaning in Japan, and they also mean bridge. And so, they're like, this is the gift we give to you, and it also bridges us from, creating that bridge, that connection. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But I'll have to like do a little research and see, how much is actually there with that. But that's kind of cool.
Well, if Mr. Matsuura ever comes to the U.S. and visits your shop, you should give him a spoon.
Yeah.
Because that also has a dual meaning.
Yeah. Become fat like American.
Oh, I meant more in the snuggle variety, but...
But
this is how we show affection here.
Yeah. But no, it was a lot of fun. It was interesting. Matsuura has something like 400 employees and produces between 300 to 400 machines a year. So, and their plant was significantly smaller than I was expecting. And what was crazy is that they've added on to it in the they've almost doubled its size in the last 5 years, and it was still pretty small for what I was thinking it would be. So it's incredible what they were able to do before they expanded it, because they've over doubled their capacity for assembling machines.
Gosh, so the Instant Machines community is buying like 10% of their machines a year at this rate.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of wonder, because like their linear axis machine, I don't know what series it is, but it's the one where it's linear axis on all the axes.
Linear motors,
yeah, on all the axes. They only sell like 5 of those a year.
Mm-hmm.
So like very low volume on that particular model. And that blew my mind.
More like Kern, less like Haas.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I feel like Haas makes more machines in a week than they make in a year, or sells or whatever. Like that, it's a whole different world. And it was interesting because, like as I walked around and looked at their facility, it was extremely quiet. Like, there was no loud noises in the assembly plant. There was no rushing of any kind. And that's true of not just Matsuura, but like of Japan in general. Like I never got the sense that people were rushing for anything. I think the most I ever saw was a handful of times someone running to catch a subway. That was like the
Okay.
most rushed. Like whenever I'm like in a big city in the U.S., I feel like everything is just extremely busy. Like people have places to go, and everyone is rushing around and trying to get everything done, and in a very fast manner. And I did not get that vibe in Japan anywhere. Uh, like
Interesting.
you'd wake up in the morning, and most shops do not open until after 9 o'clock. Like we could go walk down streets in the morning, and we were not trying to get up super early, but like it's easy to get out of bed by between eight and nine, and without feeling rushed. And you'd go walk out, and there'd be like no one. And then you know you come back to the same street at 6 to 9 in the evening, and the the roads are packed, and there's people everywhere, and all the shops are bustling. So like it's like everything's like shifted to later.
Well, that's how it is in Europe too.
So yeah, but I went to Europe, and I didn't feel that as much.
Okay.
Like I've been to Europe, and maybe it was similar that way, but I felt like there was more people in the morning. Like it wasn't like dead, and then by evening, like people everywhere.
That's very possible.
So yeah. Although like for example, like when I worked at my old job, I would get up at like 6 in the morning and like commute to work, and heavy rush hour was around 7. But like
Hmm.
the subway system, it's closer to like 9 to 10 is whenever the subway system gets loaded and everyone's going to work. It seems
Interesting.
like so like early in the morning, it didn't seem as busy. So, and the other thing was, I don't know what the education system is like in Japan, but it seemed like at any time of day I could find like school kids out and about all over the place.
I wonder if they go home for lunch.
I don't know, but I would see
I know in
groups of them at all sorts of places. Like we'd go to shrines at different times of the day, and there would be kids there, and temples, and it just seemed like they would just show up at all the different places we were going, no matter what time we were there.
Yeah. I know in some places it's more normal for kids to go home for lunch from school. Obviously the US does not do that even
Yeah,
remotely, but
yeah, but overall, it was a ton of fun. Um, but I can go into like details on like specific things, but I don't know how much people want to. I don't know how much you want to. Um,
so are you buying a Matsuura?
I would love to buy a Matsuura. Like I feel far more confident in Matsuura after visiting their facility. Um, some of the interesting philosophies that they had is they are big into automation when it makes sense, and then they will do things by hand if they can't automate it and make it 100% reliable.
Hmm.
Um, so, for example, every single machine that they have has scraped joints, um, and so it was kind of cool to see that process of how they scrape everything into perfect alignment. And even though the all the surfaces were machined, they would go in and just give it that last little bit to make sure they were perfect.
Yep.
Um, and like that type of philosophy was seen everywhere. Like they make their own spindles, and they balance their spindles like 4 different times. Every time they like add a stage, they balance it, and then they add a stage, and then they balance it, and then they add a stage, and then they balance it. So like it goes through like 4 stages of like adding stuff to the spindle and building it up, and at every stage they balance it, you know, again, just to make sure that like each individual layer is balanced rather than waiting till the end and balancing it as a complete assembly.
Interesting. I wonder if that helps like if you do a repair or something.
Yeah, I imagine it does, but it was just kind of interesting to see that. So, um, but yeah, no, it was a ton of fun. It was cool to kind of see them. They're testing out some like new technologies with their assemblies that I got to kind of see. Um, so like using lasers to and reflective mirrors to measure the axes as they move down to make sure that like they're perfectly aligned to each other. And
As a inspection step in assembling the machine, or as like scales, like replacing glass scales?
as an assembly part of the machine, like
Okay.
making sure that the linear rails were perfectly aligned to each other.
I thought you were saying they were doing like a laser interferometry.
No, 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 no.
That would be really, really cool.
That would
But
be, but no. No, this is just to make sure that the rails are going perfectly um, in line to each other.
okay.
And so um, I got to see a pink Matsuura,
Ooh.
so that was kind of cool. So like, I asked him about the different colors, and he said only America buys different colors. No one else will pay for them.
That's so funny.
So like, their blue was definitely the most popular, but like I saw a handful of black ones, and then one pink one. It
Huh.
was like pink and white, and like it really caught me off guard when I saw it. I was like, because it's like a bright fluorescent pink,
Yeah.
and it was not subtle. So
I if I was getting one, I think I would want it like white or like a light gray. Something that looks, more almost medically,
mhm.
something that looks very clean.
So
Though then
uh,
it would look like a Haas, which would kind of defeat the purpose of
yeah,
buying a Matsuura.
I like the blue. The black is really clean. Um, and
I would not want to work in a cave though.
yeah, that's true. It is darker. Um, if I could do any color and I could pick, what would I do? That blue, I do like it. It screams Matsuura just because that's just their branding. I don't think I would want to do red. Um,
Because then it would be a Kern.
yeah, I don't know what color I would do if I could pick any color. I'd have to think on that. I like the black. It is sharp, but you're right. It could be very dark. Another thing that I did like about like the Matsuras going around and looking at them is how easy it is to get into the work envelope.
Mm-hmm.
Like being able to step in and get close to the platter and to the spindle. Um, that's very nice with the Matsuras.
So if
So,
someone handed you $500,000 to buy a Matsuura, which one would you go for, or what
well,
would you want?
that'd be
I don't
enough
need the
for
exact model number, but what do
that'd
you
be
want in it?
that'd be enough for a down payment. Uh, so, so- I mean, the machine that like if I could have any Matsuura right now, I would probably want their linear axis or linear
Motor.
motor model, um, because to me it's really compact and it's really high speed, and for like a lot of the small parts that I do, that would be like awesome. It'd be really hard to beat. It'd be way overkill, but it would be incredible at the same time.
Yeah.
So, like having 40,000, it was a 40,000 RPM spindle and just
Mm.
insane accelerations. So,
So that
like,
thing is like a Kern. That's like their
yeah,
whatever Grimsmo has, or the one up from whatever Grimsmo has.
yes, pretty much. Yeah. So
Interesting.
it's wicked fast, and you can get it with I think 96 pallets.
That would be
So,
nice.
and like it's like honestly, it's probably smaller than my UMC 500 with the Cobot,
Hmm.
um, with 96 pallets, and I think up to 400 tools. So, and
You could squeeze one in there.
It's still smaller footprint than the UMC with the Cobot. So it'd be a overkill awesome machine. But by far their most successful line is their MX.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's what Henry Holsters has, I believe. Sir Ven Solutions has exactly the same machine, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that machine a lot.
Yeah, it's a nice machine. I need to talk to Sir Ven and see how they've been liking theirs, because they weren't using it. They didn't have it up and running when you toured their shop, did they?
Yeah, it was like still being commissioned, if I remember right.
Yeah, it takes a while for them to get commissioned. I mean, and it just sounds like their whole philosophy is like it's got to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect, which is an awesome philosophy. So like, it gave me a lot of confidence that like if you get Matsuura, they're gonna make sure everything's right.
Do they have like a med center equivalent?
That would be their linear motor machine.
Okay.
Like the next smallest one is going to be the MX line. So they're not going to have anything else that's remotely close. Yeah. I mean, I could talk about specifics. Like, I did get to do the scraping demo that's going to be at IMTS.
Oh,
so
cool.
That was pretty cool. So I got to play around with the hand scraping some, and I got to see the machine that's currently being assembled for IMTS.
Okay.
So, but I mean,
we should have given you some stickers to go slap on it.
Yeah, I could have stuck a sticker in there somewhere. So what's funny is with how it was the stage it was in, I could stick a sticker in a spot where you wouldn't be able to find it unless you did maintenance.
Yeah,
like if something went wrong with the machine and you had someone go and work on it.
So one of the companies that I teach for, we were going through some of their quality issues, and one of the quality issues it was like one instance of a quality issue that they had. It was not an ongoing issue because they dealt with the problem once they figured out what was happening, but they had a guy in the deburring department who was taking a die grinder and let's just say graffitiing the tank transmissions that were running through the plant. So like after he would deburr them, he would carve various symbols that a middle schooler would carve into the side of the transmissions. Which I think is my favorite defect of all time. It took he did this for like 2 weeks before anyone noticed.
Oh, that's
so
funny.
There's 2 weeks of Abrams tanks that have phalluses on their transmissions now.
One thing I will say, and because of how many times we've done this recording, I don't think I've mentioned it in here. I did go to South Korea as part of my trip.
That was Rev B.
Yeah, that was Rev B. And one of the places I went to was the War Memorial for South Korea. And they have a lot of hardware from the war. Tanks, planes, helicopters, vehicles of all shapes and sizes, and a couple boats. And one of the boats that they had, it was like an interceptor type boat. And it had on the front windows the same spinning discs to get the water off the windscreen. And I wonder if that is one of the originations of where that technology came from that you see on, because like I made that connection whenever I went to the War Memorial Museum and then to Matsuura, because a lot of the Matsuuras have that same disc to like keep the coolant off. So I wonder if that's like the kind of the origin of where that came from, was on boats.
I think it was Jamie was talking about how you can buy them on like AliExpress for boats, and they're way cheaper than trying to buy one for a machine.
Yeah. So I wonder if that's the origin of where they came from. It makes sense because like if you're going through rough waters and it's constantly splashing on the glass, you can see out. So that was cool to kind of see that. I kind of want to do some history or some research on that particular component and see where it originated, like which country and what time period.
I've always wanted to build one of those.
Gimbal sells one now, don't they?
I think they do, but they're just buying them from China and reselling them.
Okay. I was wondering about that. I have no idea what they cost through Gimbal, but that makes sense. So I've been talking here for a minute. Why don't you tell me what's been going on with you while I've been gone? What changes has happened in AJ Land since I've been gone?
Oh, lots of things. To begin with, well, I've been teaching. So I'm doing 2 classes right now. One is my normal metrology class. The other one is a physics class, which kind of came out of the blue, but it's not
Okay.
like very in depth. Like I only have them for, I think it's 48 hours over a couple weeks total.
Mm-hmm.
But this class is for GM, and I've taught a couple other classes for them, and apparently they liked me. So they requested me come down and do their physics class, even though I was like, I've got an engineering degree. I'm not really deep into physics, but they're like, whatever, do it at a shallow level. So the description for that class was literally the entire like criteria I was given is they have to have 48 hours and it needs to be about physics and mechanics. And then, and they were like, just run with it. And I went, okay. And I decided the best way to do that was to kind of cover a really wide breadth of like everything. So it's basically like all of my engineering degree at a very shallow level. So like the first class we did statics, and the second class we did dynamics. We did some thermo. We talked about like Hooke's law and vibration today. And so like it's little bits, very shallow. We do a little bit of math. We don't get too heavy into that because they don't care. They're never going to use, the thermo calculations or whatever. But my goal is to like get them exposed to a little bit of everything and kind of teach them problem solving, and then also like give them the words to Google when they need to Google something, like when they actually run across this in reality. So that's been interesting. And then my normal metrology class, which is like, all the basic hand measuring tools, plus a little bit of like Lean and Six Sigma.
Did you make a bridge or a trebuchet for physics?
Yes, we did a bridge. We did. So for the physics class, we did the classic straw bridge. They had straw and Scotch tape, and they made a bridge that spanned 2 boxes of Pop-Tarts. And then the second week, we did an egg drop. This week, I was thinking about doing like the classic mousetrap cars. I was trying to do an activity a week, but I don't have like tools or anything, so the mousetrap cars might be difficult. But I'll find an activity for them to do again this week.
One activity that my school did, and I totally like bent the spirit of the exercise to my advantage, was they gave us spaghetti, dried spaghetti noodles, and I think marshmallows, and they wanted us to make the tallest structure we could with them. And I feel like there was more than just those two. I feel like there was another. Anyways, so what I ended up doing to kind of bend the rules in that exercise was I made my structure on the edge of a desk, and I had one leg of it go all the way down to the floor to give me, to where my structure didn't have to be very tall, but like a small portion of it went all the way down to the floor to give me like an extra like 3 foot of height. And like the teacher that I was doing was like, that's extremely creative. to like,
and I hate you for it.
Yeah, pretty much.
But also, it's not against the rules.
Exactly, because it was the lowest point to the tallest point. So,
but besides teaching, Audacity has actually been fairly busy. I don't think April is going to quite be a record month, but like in the past 4 days. So like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I shipped like $11,000 worth of parts, which considering a good Audacity month is like, 15,000 or whatever, especially when I'm teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I've been shipping a lot of stuff regardless, or despite teaching still, which I think actually would make April my record income month, my new record income month.
So were you able to do that because you had other people helping you?
Part of that is intern. Because he was there on Friday running jobs while I was programming. And then also while the jobs we were doing on Friday, he's like loaded up all the tools and everything and cut all the material for the jobs that I ran over the next 3 days.
Gotcha.
Part of it is also just having the right work at the right time. 2 of those jobs were fairly high value repeat jobs. The last job was classic Audacity Micro, and I wish I could have made a video on it with some teeny tiny titanium parts that were like they're about 100 thou in diameter, and it looked like kind of like a funnel. So the base of the funnel was about 100 thou in diameter. The tip of the funnel was 27 thou in diameter, and it had a 20 thou hole going through the middle.
That is small.
So those were fun. It took me 2 attempts, but I needed 5 parts, and I was able to get 5 parts pretty cleanly on a piece of 1-inch diameter titanium, and salami slice them. So they had a really, really long runtime. You wouldn't know it by looking at the parts, but there's a ton of surfacing with a 10 thou ball mill. So they had to do the set of 5 parts. It was like 3 hours. So I did the first set. There was a couple things out of tolerance. And then I ran the second set and went inside and went to sleep. And when I came back out, they were done the next morning. But those could have been a lot worse than they were, I guess is what I should say there. They ended up really not being hard, but they could have been.
Yeah.
And then did some work on Mongo with Second Intern. Did we talk about Second Intern?
We haven't talked about Second Intern, or I'm assuming Mongo is robot?
Oh, yeah, Mongo's robot. We talked about Mongo, right?
I don't think you had named it at that point. I think you were still trying to come up with a name.
Well, for our listeners, we did like an entire robot-focused episode with Jacob.
Okay.
So they know all about Mongo.
What's the cliff notes for Harry?
So Mongo is a 10-year-old UR robot, but it only has 20 hours of cycle time on it. I bought it for $4,000 in Iowa, which is north of the state I didn't know about. Is that Missouri? Yeah.
Yes.
North of Missouri, the state I didn't know about. I've been kind of slowly starting to get Mongo stuff put together. And one of the reasons I'm going slowly and steadily on that is because when I was interviewing for First Intern, I met this kid. He's still in high school. He's about to go to Purdue and get an engineering degree. But like he was super into robots and 3D printers. He's on like a FIRST Robotics team. And in fact, they just won like nationals and are now going to like the global competition for their FIRST Robotics team. And so I really liked this kid, but he only has a couple hours a week of availability. And so I went with someone else for the machining position, but I still wanted to, get this kid in the shop. And he has been heading up the Mongo project. So Mongo's making progress about 4 hours at a time. We're not exactly moving quickly because, again, he's a high school student. He doesn't have a lot of time. But he's only been in my shop twice now, 2 weeks. The first time we started working on the Mongo or the pallet gripper design, and we did a 3D printed prototype that we need to do some revisions for, but it's a start. And then this time around, he built the base that Mongo's going to sit on. That's done. And we ordered all the components for the auto door. And I've ordered everything mechanical. So like we're good to get Mongo all set up mechanically with the exception of the actual work holding. And
Gotcha.
then when we get a little bit farther along here, I'll start buying the electronics. But I don't know. If it takes me 6 months to get Mongo up and running, I would be happy. At this rate, I think it'll be probably 2 months, maybe 3 months. But shouldn't it be too much more work to get him all integrated?
Good deal. That'll be cool.
So I bought a bunch of fancy filaments to try out for his gripper.
Mm-hmm.
Because plan A is just to leave it 3D printed. So I got 64D hardness TPU, which is a really, really, really hard TPU.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got that same really hard TPU with glass reinforcement. And then I got carbon fiber nylon. So
Are you using air, pneumatics, or like a servo to actuate the gripper?
right now, I may have called it a gripper, but plan A is basically just fork.
Oh, okay.
It just slides underneath the row of ice. I was looking at the system that Possum Manufacturing, Possum Solutions has with his robot setup, and he has a gripper and then kind of like an interface palette.
Mm-hmm.
His system is really slick. So I might revise my initial idea and switch to something like he has. I have a pneumatic gripper for it. It's maybe not the kind that I would want to use because it's not a parallel gripper, but we can make it work with a claw and an interface palette.
Gotcha.
Or I could just buy a parallel jaw gripper. They're like $100 on eBay or something. But the hard part will be integrating with the Tormach. It'll be some sort of little custom Python implementation. So I don't think I'm going to have the intern do that. When I get time, I'll tinker with that, and he can just worry about the hardware and the electronics.
Fair enough.
And then also this hasn't been talked about anywhere yet. I wrote up a little software thingy, a little doohickey. I vibe coded a thingy that is going to track all of my material and material certifications. So that was kind of one puzzle piece I had missing in my shop, where basically if I ever had a job come through where I needed like traceability on the material, I would just have to buy new material because I wasn't able to keep track of that with my old systems. And now I have a nice little database where that keeps track of all of my certifications. It keeps track of when I've used the material for different jobs. Theoretically, I could put in where it's stored. I just haven't bothered because I don't store everything in one place. And then it creates a QR code and a label and a human readable name for the material. So I decided instead of like labeling material, P1925431, it creates a randomized name. So it'll be like big yellow tiger or shy green lamb or something like that, where it's an adjective, a color, and an animal. And so it's very easy for me to look at my computer and then walk into the other room and be able to find the material without forgetting the serial number between my computer and the material shelf, which has actually worked pretty well so far. People may make fun of me on YouTube, but it works well for me.
That is the weirdest system I've ever heard in my entire life.
You haven't seen anyone do that before? I didn't make this up.
No, I've never seen a system like this before.
Yeah, it's all randomly generated. Like it's just picking 3 words from a 3 different really long lists.
Yeah.
Like they don't mean anything, but it is so much more memorable than trying to read a serial number.
I understand the logic behind it. It's still weird.
Part of me wants to make it generate an image for each piece of material too, so I have something visual to look at.
With AI, that would be very easy.
Yeah, it would be.
just a
now
prompt.
I want to do it just for fun.
Like just a prompt that just is auto generated.
Yeah, that would not be difficult.
No.
But that's all up and running, and then I have my first prototype of basically the same thing but for measurement tools to keep track of calibrations and stuff. So basically just building all of the different little parts of an ERP, but I'm doing them as like their own separate programs.
Gotcha.
And once I've tested these a little bit, I will send them to Jacob, who has been face palming in my vibe coding, and he will make them into something more usable for everybody else. And then, we'll make them open source and people can do whatever they want with them.
Good deal. If you don't got anything else, I can share a little bit of what's going on in our shop too. Now that I'm back.
Please.
So a couple things that have like happened in the shop that for the couple days I've been back. One thing happened today that was fun in the most destructive way possible.
Whoa.
So we're running medical parts on our lathe, and it has a drill that comes in and drills a hole. And we've, through trial and error, figured out that our drill bits last about 180 parts. And so we have a tool life monitoring on it. And then once it's been used 180 times, it alarms out, and we come in and we change out that drill bit. And we've been running around trying to get stuff done because basically with me being gone for 2 weeks, which Weston has said that I'm no longer allowed to do. He said that 1 week max until we get until we get another employee. Because we're, as Weston put it, we are no longer a 2-person shop with an overflow of a third. We are now a 3-person shop with no overhead, no extra. Like we might have a little extra headroom, but like we really need a 4th person to like have someone go for a significant period of time.
Yeah, you're at max capacity already.
Yeah, and so I don't know how that fit into my story. Oh yeah, so we were busy running around, and the lathe was running in the background. That's why I said that. And the drill broke, and no one caught it, and it took out 4 boring bars. Because of that, and it broke at 176 uses, so it had 4 more before it would alarm out. And I think we through experimentation, it had been breaking above 180. I think like around the 190-ish range, 190 to 200, and so we dropped it to 180. And then this one, I think, just barely made it underneath that. And so I think what we're going to do going forward, if we're going to be able to walk away and have it run, is that we're going to have to implement a torque skip subroutine where we have a dummy bar that goes into the hole after the drill and make sure that it's all cleared out to make sure that it was successful with the drill operation. Because if any of the other tools break, it's not going to take out every other tool in the system. So and on the external tools, they're loud enough that we would know if something went wrong with them. Like you can hear them during normal operation screeching, and if the tune was to change, you could pretty much tell. As long as there's someone in the shop, you could tell that something was horribly wrong. With the drills and the boring bars, they're so quiet and so small that it's just going to snap them. And we were using like small carbide boring bars, and like it's like every boring bar was like $200, so it's like that's $800 just gone. Plus any alignment issues, stuff that will well, they were all small, so like I don't think it's like gonna hurt anything, but we still need to check, make sure nothing got hurt. So, but I doubt it because they were like 3/16 boring bars and they're carbide, so they snap easy.
Yeah. That reminds me, we had a crash on the Tormach.
Oh.
It was an intern crash. So he forgot to change the work coordinate system before probing.
Mm-hmm.
And it,
probed
Z'd down.
Oh, so
Um,
okay.
so yeah, the work coordinate system was set like 4 inches lower than it should have been because he forgot to change before probing.
Oh,
Um,
did you break a probe?
and so no, the probe was fine. He probed it, switched to the first tool in the program, hit cycle start, and it went. Vroom. Um,
Oh, so
so
was the origin in the wrong location for what he thought it was based off what he probed?
yes,
Okay, okay.
so this was on my Aroa system, and my Aroa system, I do everything off of the center point.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically have 3 work coordinate systems that I use. One is the top of the 0 point itself, which I call the master work coordinate system. And then I have one preset for the standard soft jaw height. And then one floats up and down if I'm like doing work holding in a vise or whatever. And this was a part that was, well, it was actually technically in soft jaws, but I wasn't using the soft jaw work coordinate system because it was just a cylinder.
Mm-hmm.
And so he should have probed, and he did probe the top of it before hitting cycle start, but he forgot to change from like the soft jaw work coordinate system, G59, to the floating work coordinate system, which is G54.1P10. He just forgot to type it in.
Mm.
Um, the Fortunately, it came down on a piece of Delrin that was like 4 inches tall, and I think was fairly forgiving to everything that happened.
Mm-hmm.
The tool didn't even break. It did alarm out the machine. Though, as I was thinking about it here, I don't know what it alarmed out. I don't know if it was the spindle or the Z axis or one of the other axes. Because it wasn't a dead on straight hit. It kind of was a side glancing blow. Um, but it did alarm it out and did quite a number on this piece of Delrin.
I imagine.
But from my quick checks, nothing seems to be wrong. Like the spindle sounds fine. I haven't noticed any weird alignment issues. I reprobed the center of the 0 point to make sure it didn't move. The only sign of damage I saw was the little alignment plate that goes under the Aroa was a little bit like kind of wallered out, where I think it kind of got pushed to the side more than it could handle. So I don't know. That was a good learning experience for him. He also the bigger problem was he was not safely, proving out. Well, it was a proven program, but it was the first time we had run this program on this set of parts. Like we ran the same program a week ago, but then we ran other stuff, and then we came back to this program.
Yeah.
So the code was known good, but the work coordinate systems weren't yet.
Yeah.
And so he was just, he got too comfortable.
Yep.
And we all know what happens in this trade when you get too comfortable.
Scrap parts, and hopefully not machines.
And or machines.
Hopefully not machines. Oh man. Yeah, speaking of like, well, I don't know what I was going to say, but we're trying to get production going on some of our jobs, and boy howdy is it kicking our butt, but I think we got it licked finally.
Nice.
So it's been a whole lot in just getting process reliability with the robot, which nothing is wrong with the robot. It's always just making sure that the process inside the machine with the vice jaws and everything is super repeatable. And it seems like there's always some little thing that is like a pain in the butt. And then once you get it solved, it just works. So, been fighting that, and knock on wood, like I think we're to a point where everything is reliable, and I only have one issue left to solve to where I can start letting it run overnight again on this new part. So,
and what's that?
We're running 2 parts at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And after the second op, the robot will come in and grab it. And when it's in the machine, it grabs, because with the VersaBuilt system, your vice jaws are also your grippers. And when it's in the machine and the vice is grabbing it from the bottom, it's putting even pressure across it and it's clamping onto both parts evenly. When the robot comes in, it's grabbing it from one side, and so
Mm.
the vice jaws kind of want to do this. And so the second part that's on the opposite end, that's the furthest away from the robot, whenever it flips over to deposit it, it falls out of the part. It falls out of the part falls out of the gripper vice jaws, and so I need to have some sort of a spring retention system where it has just enough pressure where it won't drop out, but when it opens up, it'll still drop.
Yeah.
And so
And that's when it's releasing the finished part onto your like finished part grid.
yes, because otherwise
Okay.
they'll just stack up in one location because it always flips the gripper at the same location,
Oh.
and and um, it could be over material that needs to be grabbed for op one, which could cause problems.
Yeah.
So, and it could ding up the parts because it's dropping it from a fairly high part or a fairly high location. So, like, there's just lots of issues with it. And so I think I have a solution for it, but that's the last problem that's preventing me from running overnight. The solution that like the VersaBuilt apps guy said is just bin drop it in a location off the table.
Yeah.
Which is a totally valid thing that we could do. But we're being stubborn because we like having it on the table in like a nice
Yeah.
grid where we can track it. Like if we want to grab it and go, okay, everything past this point is still fine. Everything past this point is still fine. Like if there's an issue, we can look through the history of the parts on the table. I don't want to give that up.
Yep, definitely.
And you give that up with bin drop. So, I mean, if you could get technical and go, well, it's deeper in the pile, so it's earlier on, but like you're not going to have the same level of detail for that.
Well, speaking of levels of detail, we have like a bajillion Patreon questions.
Yeah,
so we should probably transition to that.
I was going to say that's probably my last thing before Patreons and Patreon questions, because we do have a lot, and we started this basically an hour later than normal because of all of our fun stuff. So
Oh, that is true. Well, I am alone in a hotel room with nothing to do with anything right now, so I can go late.
I'm still recovering from jet lag, and I am honestly barely holding my eyes open right now.
Oh, how the tables have turned. Normally, I'm the one like, Harrison, just stop talking so we can end and I can go to bed. And now I'm keeping you up. Yeah. So we have a really awesome group of Patreons. The best perk we have is our Patreon Discord, where it's a good closed group of machinists. Because everyone who is in there had to pay at least $1 a month, like there's a fair amount of commitment to the group. It's not like, one of the machinist Facebook groups. It's a very positive community. It's a very helpful community. Josh from Subtract was live streaming the assembly of his new 1500, and there's basically a peanut gallery giving him like helpful advice as he was doing it, because we do have a lot of 1500s in that group. And there's just constantly a lot of stuff like that. They do a group hangout, like live video call, every single Friday with or without our approval. No, they don't need our approval, but like they set this up themselves. It's not even like a Taps and Patience sponsored thing. It's just a thing that they do because they like to hang out. So if you want access to that, definitely sign up for the Patreon. If you do now $15 a month, we'll read your name out, which we'll do here in a second. And oh boy, do I have a surprise for you, Harrison, which we will get to at the end.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Also, all Patreons get to participate in the weekly Q&A. Now, to do that, you don't actually have to pay anything. There is a free tier. Free meaning no money. If you join that, you can participate with that directly on Patreon. Just sign up for a free account. Don't pay anything. Or you can join the Discord app with at least $1 a month of a commitment on Patreon, and then that gets you in the Discord, and then you can also do your Q&A on the Discord. All of our Discord money is going to go to getting Harrison and I and Jacob to IMTS, paying for our hotel rooms, paying for our travel, et cetera, et cetera. And we are doing a meetup at IMTS on Tuesday. I don't know what day it is. It's not the 9th, is it?
I have no
Tuesday,
idea.
the day of IMTS, the day before the Within Tolerance meetup, the day after the
first day.
Oh, what's the what is the day after the first day? The Choo Choo Train podcast, whatever they're called. Jamie J Spec Engineering's podcast. They're doing a meetup on Monday, by the way. So
cool.
If you're going to IMTS Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you'll have friends there. As a reminder, if you are the kind of person who does less good in a group setting, bring parts. The best way to start a conversation or to have a conversation with machinists is to look at your parts. So bring parts, and I promise you there will be plenty of things to talk about. Just don't break NDAs or whatever.
Yep.
And if you do, don't get caught. Anyway, all of that is to say new Patreons. Our new Patreons are Brian at Headco. You think he makes hairbrushes, or what do you think Headco does?
Headco? Probably, probably brushes. That makes the most sense to me.
Someone would probably thank you if you sponsored me with a hairbrush. I've only been meaning to get a haircut for like 2.5 months. Also, James C. And then one I'm going to skip and we'll get back to later. And then our current name reading tier of Patreons are Brian H., Bennett Black Fox Machining, Matt at Modern Fuel, Russell M., Joseph E., Brian B., Jacob S., Chris at CDS Plastics, John S., Alex H., Avery M., Chris B. at Puda Creek Precision, Josh at Leighton Machine, now with a 1500, Millen Y., Devin C., Alex at Mill City Roasters, Christian O., Stephen M., Horse Pulverizer Incorporated, Daniel R., James at Moultrie Made, Ryan at Stratum Manufacturing, Kyle at Kursk Machine, Devin at Sinister Machine Works, Greg at Frogtown Manufacturing, now on the Subtract Network. James N., Ben at Prickly Pear Prototypes, Cam S., Shep at Alderson Prototyping, Jacob at Zon and Precision, Jason S., Joshua H., Christian Z., Freaky Climber, Prescott at 1Z, 2Z Systems, Trey V., Alexander B., Scott Designed the Everything, Jamie, and Nautical Work Holding. Ooh, name change. Except you spelled Nautical wrong. Chris at Zyke Precision, EJ at Nocturnal Welding, Chris at Thought Bomb Design, and as ever, Jake Brownson. Who I have just learned the other day is a far more successful entrepreneur than either of us will ever be.
Oh, really?
Which is probably why he's been our Patreon for so long, because he can afford it. Q&A. What are the most interesting custom fixtures y'all have made? From Christian O.
Most interesting custom fixtures.
I have a couple I can start with while you're thinking.
Yeah, go for it.
I think most of my weirdo fixtures have been some sort of adhesive work holding, where I've made like a couple locating features on a hard to hold part, and then glued the part into the fixture. So like not just for the flat super glue, but like, let's say you're making a sphere, machining a spherical pocket into a piece of aluminum and then gluing the part in. I've done some funky stuff that way. I've also done a couple fixtures that were 3D printed that had a 3D printed flexure in there that I tightened with a set screw from the side. And those are the farthest away possible thing from rigid, but sometimes for teeny tiny parts, they're just about the only way.
So for me, the most interesting custom fixtures, I would say almost anything dealing with the VersaBuilt robot and Op2, because you have to make it to where the system works without you touching it. And so it exposes all weaknesses, and there's always seems to be some unique challenge that when you're getting into the higher production, especially with like really light parts, that like you have to tweak things and like things that aren't normally a big deal, like become a very big deal on stuff like that. And so I have like 2 parts in particular that I'm thinking of that like I had to do some pretty unique stuff with my jaws to make them work. And apart from that, like regular fixtures, I had one fixture that I made for one of my customers has like a knife part that has like a knife edge.
Mhm.
And so I've had to make a fixture for like beveling and making like a knife edge straight off the machine. And that was a pretty cool fixture. And then there was another, a 3D printed one. I had a one-off part of where I had to reverse engineer a brass part that was a casting. And so I had to reverse engineer the part, and then I ended up making a 3D printed fixture to hold the part for op 2, and it had a whole lot of like curved geometry because it was like a very flowing part because it had been cast previously. And so there was no way I could like realistically cut that into soft jaws. And so we 3D printed everything. And the way I designed it, you had to cut away the 3D print as you went. Like to try to make it as strong a support as possible. So the 3D print was also sacrificial in the way that like as you finish the second op side, you would eat away the 3D print and to finish the part, and you would, because of how it like ate it down, you still had the rigidity, but it got weaker, but you had less tooling force as it went down, if that makes sense. So like,
yeah,
it was pretty rigid, and then it got weaker as it went down until it was just holding on by a little bit. But by that point, you were done. So
yeah. I really can't talk details about this at all, but we had a Subtract RFQ come in for some parts that were starting out as metal 3D printed and needed some post machining on. And that was a fun work holding conversation.
So that's about all I got. I'm sure there's other stuff, but nothing that comes to mind.
Random question for ITARs. In your ITAR certification, I saw there was like 3 different levels. I assume you guys are just like the level 1 ITARs.
Yes.
Do you know when the other levels come into play at all?
We got ITAR certified like over a year ago, and we've only done like one job with it, so I haven't really looked into it very much since.
Okay. I am probably going to get ITAR some point soon here because of Subtract, actually. And the getting Subtract systems all ITARs compliant is not worth it at this point, but we still want to be able to take some ITARs work. And basically the only thing that Subtract really needs to handle is like the quoting and the paperwork and stuff like that. And so basically Audacity would become ITARs compliant, and then I would just do the quote all locally on my end. And then, we just do the project management on the Subtract software and SERP.
Speaking of, go ahead.
Oh, no, go on.
I was just going to say, speaking of ITAR, that did remind me that I did have a new customer reach out that was like a DoD manufacturer, and they wanted me to make some massive titanium parts that like we ended up turning down because it was too big for our stuff. But I just thinking of like, I wonder, I didn't ask them, but I wonder if that's something that we needed to be ITAR certified for. I hadn't thought about that. But
all right, next question. Dylan at Got Chips. With the continuous development of AI, what workflows have you improved or created leveraging these advancements? Also, which are your go-tos for specific applications and why?
Honestly, I've just started dipping my toe into the AI stuff, and I use it more as like technical support when I get stuck on something to like generate ideas or things to try with my toolpaths. I have not used it very much beyond just as a chatbot to bounce questions off of.
That's funny because I use AI a lot, and that's one of the things I don't use it for. I just go to the Discord. I ask Discord GPT. I use it a fair amount. So, I talked about the two different little custom pieces of software that I wrote over the last 2 weeks. You better believe I did not code those myself. Um, at the peak of my programming skills, I maybe could have gotten that done, like what I did done, but it would have been not as good and it would have taken me 100 times longer. So, like the for example, the metrology like certification tracking one, the one I most recently started working on, what I have now is fully functional and it took a single prompt to get there. Which is just wild that it works. Like there's some UI improvements that I need to do. Mostly it's trying to do more than it needs to. But the fact that you can just with a single prompt get a functional program, like, essentially piecemeal your own ERP through AI, and it's not horrendous is wild to me.
What are you using? Like, are you just using like ChatGPT and the text, or is there like application specific? Like, hey, if you want to program, download this application and ask our AI. Like, how are you doing that?
So I'm using ChatGPT Codex. So it is the coding specific little wing of ChatGPT, but I am just on like their standard paid model. Like it's I've paid for ChatGPT for like a year now or whatever. It's $20 a month. I'm not at the like super premium tiers of coding stuff, which you can get and you probably would need if you're doing something more complicated. But for simple stuff like this, the $20 a month tier is more than adequate. I also made an email app for my phone for fun. Like I was bored and like there in the completely blown out screen, that's an email app. And that one did actually take a fair amount of prompting and reorganizing and trying to get the UI and stuff right. But there's no way I could have done that with, hand coding it. That was beyond me. And that's a functional Android app.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And there's, that got me thinking about a couple other projects I want to do. Like, particularly with all of this travel I've been doing, there's a few things that I have been dropping the ball on, or just inconsistent about doing. And so I was going to make basically like a habit tracker or morning routine app. And it would take me, I don't know, 45 minutes to vibe code this up and get it on my phone. And it wouldn't be good for other people, but to get some like super specific little niche piece of software is really quick.
I need to look into that kind of stuff because that sounds like something to be fun to play around with.
You remember when like a couple years ago, 3D printers went from like being this kind of niche hobby machine to like now everybody can just press a button and 3D print. And my 9-year-old has one. Like, in the last year or so, that's what these AI companies have done for software development. Like it used to be this thing where you needed a lot of domain knowledge and like doing like using the tool was kind of the task. Now it is just a utility and it just happens and you don't worry about it that much. And the people who are really into software development and know what they're doing, like Jacob, are going to yell at me. But at this point, the tool, like it's no longer a skill set. Like it is just a tool that you use and it does the thing. There's a little bit of domain knowledge maybe in getting it set up with like GitHub, which is how it does all the file management and stuff. Maybe you don't even have to do that. That might even be optional. But you could literally, like, everybody listening to this could literally write a piece of software in half an hour, like from nothing to a functional piece of software in half an hour. Not to sound too much like the business of machining, but it's not hard anymore. I don't know if I've ever vocalized this. My views on AI originally when it was first coming out was like, it was just kind of a toy and everyone was super excited about it. And I was like, it'll be useful for someone, but I don't know how big it'll be. But recently, now that like a bunch of people are really hating on it, that's kind of been my signal that it's going to stick around and be super important. When everyone was all pro AI, it was like, oh yeah, I don't know about this. But now that there's like a significant backlash in two camps that are really fighting, that's kind of my signal that
It's getting good.
We should be going more into it. I also have been working on Quoting 2.0 for Subtract, which started off as a spreadsheet, and I just fed that spreadsheet to Codex, and it turned it into a Python program, so I could start getting into a little bit more complex quoting scenarios. So, like, I was just getting beyond what I could do in a spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So, there, I don't know. I think there's lots of uses. Yes.
Sounds good.
Josh Lane Machine. For Harrison, what is the weirdest thing you ate while you were abroad?
There's a couple things that could make that list. So we tried a bunch of like pretty weird snack candy things, and I couldn't tell you what they were called or what they were, but there was just some interesting ones we tried with that. We found a vegan Japanese restaurant, and we ate at there. And
they just call them restaurants there, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was interesting. Their vegetarian meats or their vegan meats. And so that was an interesting experience, to like try some different like meat substitutes of things that we couldn't normally eat. So that was fun. And then, Matsuura, when we went to Matsuura, they took us to a ramen place for lunch, and he ordered some chicken nugget like things, but they had soft bones that you ate inside them, which was weird.
Interesting.
It was a very weird texture, and like he didn't tell me that was in them at first. It was like soft bone chicken thingies, and I didn't know what, like, it didn't translate well initially, and I was like, sure, I'll give that a shot, and it was interesting. Not as bad as I thought, but just weird to be eating bone that's like kind of gummy texture, but like a crunchy gummy.
I can't describe to you how much I want to see the chickens that these come from.
Yeah, I don't know how they.
In my mind, they're just floppy chickens.
Like, I don't know how they process it like that, but it was
no processing, just floppy chicken. Don't ruin this for me, Harrison.
It was weird, but it wasn't bad. But it's also something that I probably wouldn't do on a regular basis.
I just realized that I got distracted on the Patreon plug, and there was the news that I forgot to share with you. So we have a tier of Patreon that is I believe we call them the permanent sponsor tier.
Mm-hmm.
It is our highest tier that we put there mostly to make the other tiers look cheaper. Mm-hmm. But Mike at G28 Machining has joined the sponsor tier. So G28 Machining is sponsoring the podcast officially. Mike, if you want us to do an ad read or something, like, you're paying for it. So hit us up on the Discord. I noticed you were in both the Subtract Discord and the Taps and Patience Discord, or maybe just the Subtract Discord. Are you in, Mike? If you're not in the Taps and Patience Discord, tell me. You can message us on Patreon.
If you, the way you started out that sentence, I thought you were going to be like, Mike, if you're not in the Discord, nod your head twice, or
anyone who's dead, raise your hand. So thank you, Mike at G28. We really appreciate you. You're going to be going a long way to funding our meetup. If it was a typo and you meant to do $5 a month, let me know. But yeah, so Mill City Roasters was our first unofficial sponsor when they sponsored us with, I think, 4 bags of coffee. And so Mike at G28 has significantly stepped up his game. We are new levels of sponsorship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, tell us what you want to say, Mike, and we will say it on the podcast. Rodney at Hatchie Machine. For both of you, where do you see yourself or your business in 5 years?
Hmm. That's an interesting question because
That is an interesting question.
um, I've always said that I hope this shop lasts me 5 years, and I'm 2 years in, and I still kind of have that sentiment.
The
But
building, not the business.
the building, not the business. Like that, we'll need to do another move, and I don't know how long. Speaking of which, I think we're going to have our power hooked up by the end of this week. The 400
Woohoo.
amps.
Just in time for the
So
Matsuura.
yeah, so hopefully we'll be switching over to that maybe by the end of this week.
Nice.
And then what we've been doing some surveying for the addition. So, because it's a long story. Doesn't matter. We're doing some surveying for it. That's all that really matters. So, anyways, so where do I see the business in 5 years? Um, I would like to think that if we add another employee every, um, you know, every year to 2 years, that in 5 years I could be up to maybe four or five employees, and have about as many new machines and maybe be in a new location. Um, and at some point, I don't know if this would happen in the next 5 years, but I still really want to develop a product that I am passionate about and makes sense for us to incorporate into our business without disrupting the job shop work. But it's something that we can kind of grow and could potentially split off into another business, but could also just stay with our current business and just be another branch of it or something. I'm not sure what that would look like, but um, I really like the idea of having our own product still. And if I could see that, if I could have that, if I could have some employees where we could step back, where I could step away from the job shop stuff more and have time to develop something, that would be nice.
Yeah. For me, I mean, my goal is for me to be sleeping on the couch while Mongo makes parts for me.
Mm-hmm.
But no, realistically, so I will be done teaching here at the end of the year. That's kind of the first milestone. So in 5 years, I'll definitely be done teaching. I just have some commitments I need to finish up. Um, I'm hoping there will be a lot more automation. I'm hoping I will have more of a set schedule, because that's the thing that's been killing me for the last year. Is every 3 weeks there's like a new class or a new something that pops up that completely changes my schedule. So I'd like to be doing the same thing every time. I suspect in 5 years, Subtract will have eaten Audacity. And I would not be too surprised if those businesses kind of become merged at some point. We actually just found out that there's some tax reasons where Audacity being merged into Subtract would actually help, due to some tax stuff that, yeah. The difference between being a middleman and a producer. There's actually tax benefits to being a producer. So Subtract may need to actually make some parts ourselves. But I don't know. Basically, like if I did, these last 4 days, if I could repeat that 5 days a week, I would be golden. Like with the processes and the levels where I'm at now, if I could just maintain that constantly, maybe that means I have intern Jacob come in full time. Maybe he comes a 40-hour employee, or someone like him. But one or two employees kind of keeping Audacity running by itself, working on Subtract, heavy automation, no more teaching. That's where I'm at. Are we going to be podcasting in 5 more years, Harrison?
I mean, I would like to think so. I enjoy being able to talk to you and to hear back from the community. I think I feel like I get just as much, if not more, by sharing, as hopefully my listeners do from us. So I really enjoy that, and I really wish I could have made it to the meetup that's going. I don't know if it's still going on right now.
No, it's done.
it's
The
done.
ski trip.
Yeah. So that actually happened it started while I was still in Japan. So
I would have gone, but I had this class.
if I had planned my trip out a little bit better, I could have stopped in for a day on my way back, maybe. But
yeah,
but I would have been so jet lagged that it wouldn't have been funny. But yeah.
I have a proposition for you.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 4 questions left. Yeah, 4. What if we tackled those next week?
I would be okay with that because I am about to fall over. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm having a really hard time keeping my eyes open.
I'm starting to get tired now as well. On Tuesdays when I go from Muncie to Bedford, I get up at 3, and I did not get to sleep to last night at a appropriate time to wake up at 3. So I am also dragging. I guess quick last weight loss update. I am still at 25 pounds down from where I started. The traveling and being on the road in a hotel room for most of the week does not help my diet. I've been kind of barely maintaining weight with that. Actually, I kind of go up during the week and then I drop that back down a little bit during the weekend. But there is no food in Bedford. Like, it is legitimately a problem. There's like a Wendy's and an Arby's and a McDonald's. And there's like an ice cream stand and there's a Walmart. And these are my food choices.
You need a conveni.
Yeah, I do. I really, really do. There's not even like a Kroger, because Kroger's, you can get like Kroger sushi, which Jacob makes fun of me for, and like salads and stuff like that. But the only option, I guess Walmart does have some like chicken salads and stuff in little containers, but they don't even have a cold deli there. They just have like 3 different kinds of fried chicken.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
The convenience stores in Japan are awesome, and they have a lot of options for food that some of them are really healthy. And one thing I will say that was kind of cool is at almost every convenience store, they have tons of ramen options, and almost every convenience store had like microwaves and like a little table that like you could cook your ramen at and eat at if you needed to.
That's nice.
It was super nice. One thing that we do need to mention, and this could be part of the outro, but I'll go ahead and mention it now.
I know what you're talking about. I forgot to say that. I meant to say at the beginning, I was going to be sarcastic and be mean just because Jacob told me to be nice.
Yeah.
And apparently I have a problem with authority.
Yes, you do. Our YouTube channel has passed all metrics needed to monetize except subscribers. So we need 500 subscribers. We are at 275 currently. So if you are not subscribed to our Taps and Patience YouTube channel,
Jacob's actually wrong. We need 1,000.
Oh, we need 1,000.
Yeah, but here's the thing: we get like 3,000 listens. So even if a third of you guys go and subscribe, and I know some of you have multiple channels, just go subscribe. You don't have to watch; it's okay. Just go hit the subscribe button so we can start monetizing again.
I believe I am subscribed. I need to double check.
Well, make another channel and then subscribe, and then have your wife subscribe, and then really, we just need 100 people to subscribe on all of their accounts and all of their spouses' accounts.
Yeah.
And if you have children, those work too.
Yeah, I am subscribed. I'm subscribed to our own channel. Look at me.
But we get 3,000 views an episode. So there's enough people out there. Yeah. Unless Jamie's just going to town on repeat as he's building his little model trains or whatever he does.
All right, guys. we are barely holding it together between having 4 revisions of starting this podcast and jet lag. So,
and 3 a.m. mornings.
And 3 a.m. mornings. So thanks for hanging out with us. Hopefully next week I will have more energy and be a little bit more awake for this. But thanks for hanging out with us. And it's good to be back. And keep the questions coming. I like seeing all the questions. So yeah, that's all I got.
Bye.
One of a kind.